The stars looked peaceful from space station horizon. They always did. John Miller stood at the large window, his hands clasped behind his back. He was the first human ambassador to the Galactic Concordat, a group of 12 alien species who had worked together for over 300 years. Humans were new to space travel compared to the others. They had only joined the Concordat 20 years ago. John watched as ships came and went from the station. Each one had a different shape. Some were round and smooth, others were long and sharp. They showed how different each alien species was. "Ambassador Miller, the emergency meeting will start in 10 minutes, said a voice behind him. John turned to see Taz, his assistant. Taz belonged to the Veldarian species. He had blue skin and 4 arms. "Thank you, Taz. I'll be right there." John took one last look at the stars. He knew why the meeting had been called. For the past 3 months, something terrible had been happening. An unknown creature was attacking space stations and colonies on the edge of Concordat space. It had already destroyed 3 research stations. Hundreds of people from different species had died. No one knew what the creature was or where it came from. The few who had seen it and lived told scary stories. They said it could change its shape. They said weapons did not hurt it. They said it learned from each attack and got stronger. The council room was large and round. In the middle was a table shaped like a ring. Around it sat representatives from all 12 species of the Concordat. Humans were the newest and least advanced members. This often meant that other species did not listen to them much. Admiral Zorn of the Kelbraxian Empire stood up. The Kelbraxians were tall, with gray skin and ridge-like bones on their heads. They were known as great warriors. "The monster has attacked again," Admiral Zorn said. His voice was deep and angry. This time it hit Research Station 7. Only 5 people survived. A screen appeared in the middle of the table. It showed video from the attack. The creature moved like a shadow made of metal. It flowed through walls and doors. When security guards shot at it, the bullets seemed to pass through it. Then it would become solid again to attack. "Our best weapons do nothing," said Council Leader Vexthar. She belonged to the oldest species in the Concordat, the Zorblaxians. "It adapts to everything. We try." The room filled with scared voices. Some wanted to abandon the outer colonies. Others wanted to build bigger weapons. No one seemed to have a good plan. John stayed quiet. He was new to the council. He knew the others did not value human ideas much. But as he watched the video again, he noticed something strange. The creature did not attack at random. It went straight for certain rooms in the station. It ignored some areas completely. When there was a pause in the talking, John raised his hand. Council Leader Vexthar nodded to him. "I noticed that the creature goes to specific places," John said. "It ignores the living quarters and food storage. It only attacks labs and engine rooms." Admiral Zorn made a sound like a laugh. "Yes, Ambassador, it's smart. It knows how to shut down a station quickly." "Or," John said, "it's looking for something specific." The room went quiet. This was a new idea. "What could it be looking for?" asked a small, bird-like alien named Pip. John shook his head. "I don't know. But if we figure that out, we might understand why it's attacking." Just then, the emergency lights began to flash. A voice came over the speakers. "Alert. Unknown entity detected approaching station horizon. All security personnel to battle stations. All civilians to safe rooms." The council members jumped up in fear. Station horizon was not on the edge of space. It was deep in Concordat territory. If the creature was here, nowhere was safe. "It's impossible," shouted Admiral Zorn. "Our fleet should have seen it coming." John looked out the window. In the distance, he could see something moving toward the station. It did not look like a ship. It looked like a cloud of shining metal that kept changing shape. "We must evacuate," said Council Leader Vexthar. "Get to the escape pods." As the council members rushed out, John stayed by the window. The creature was getting closer. He could see it better now. It moved with purpose, not like a mindless animal. Its surface rippled like water made of mercury. John felt someone stand next to him. It was Kate Russell, the human science officer, assigned to the station. "Everyone's running," she said. "Why aren't you?" I'm watching it, John replied. Look how it moves. It's not attacking randomly. It has a goal. Kate nodded. She was smart and practical. Her short brown hair was neatly kept, and her eyes showed she was thinking hard. I've been studying the attack reports, she said. There's a pattern. Every place that was attacked had high levels of zeta radiation. Zeta radiation? John asked. What's that used for? It's produced by concordant jump drives and some types of energy weapons. Humans don't use it in our technology. Our methods are different, less advanced, but... An explosion shook the station. The lights flickered. It's breaking through the outer defenses, Kate said. We should go. They ran toward the central part of the station where the escape pods were. Aliens of all species were rushing in the same direction. Some were crying. Others were calling for family members. As they ran, the station's AI spoke. Breach in Sector 7, breach in Sector 12. Unknown entity has entered the station. They reached the main hall. It was filled with hundreds of scared people trying to get to the escape pods. Security officers were trying to keep order, but it wasn't working well. John looked at a nearby monitor. It showed security camera feeds from around the station. He could see the creature moving through the halls. It ignored some areas and went straight for others. Kate, he said, pointing at the screen. Look, it's heading for the main reactor. That's the biggest source of zeta radiation on the station, Kate said. John thought for a moment. Then he had an idea. Do humans give off zeta radiation? He asked. Kate looked surprised by the question. No, our bodies and technology don't produce it at all. Then I need to get to the reactor before that thing does, John said. That's crazy. Kate grabbed his arm. You saw what it does to people. Yes, but all those people were aliens who use zeta radiation technology. What if it can't sense me the same way? Kate looked unsure. It's possible, but it's a huge risk. Someone has to try something new, John said. The Concordate's weapons aren't working. He looked at the scared faces around him. These people needed help. And maybe, just maybe, being human might be an advantage. For once. I'm going, he said. Keep everyone away from the reactor section. John turned and ran against the crowd, heading toward the danger that everyone else was fleeing. John moved through the empty halls of Space Station Horizon. Most people had run to the escape pods. The emergency lights flashed red, making strange shadows on the walls. The station shook from time to time as the creature damaged something. His steps echoed as he walked. He had to get to the main reactor before the monster did. His plan was simple but risky. If Kate was right, and the creature was drawn to zeta radiation, maybe it would ignore John because humans didn't use or produce that kind of energy. Ambassador Miller, a voice called from behind him. John turned to see Taz, his blue-skinned assistant, running to catch up. Taz, you should be heading to the escape pods, John said. I saw you on the security feed going the wrong way, Taz said. All four of his arms moved in worry. It's too dangerous near the reactor. The monster is heading there. I know. That's why I'm going. Taz's eyes widened. But why? No weapon has hurt it. I'm not bringing a weapon, John said. I have a theory I need to test. Before Taz could argue more, Admiral Zorn appeared with 4 security officers. All were Kelbraxians, tall and strong with ridge-like bones on their gray heads. They carried large energy rifles. Ambassador Miller, growled Admiral Zorn. What are you doing? The evacuation order is clear. Admiral, I think I might be able to approach the creature safely, John said. Admiral Zorn laughed, a harsh sound. You, the human? Your species is the weakest in the Concordate. Maybe physically, John admitted. But I think our different technology might be an advantage for once. The creature seems drawn to zeta radiation. Humans don't use it. The Admiral's face showed doubt. That's a guess, not a strategy. Do you have a better plan? John asked. Your weapons haven't worked on it. Admiral Zorn frowned. He didn't like being challenged, especially by a human. But John could see in his eyes that he knew the truth. The Concordate's advanced weapons had failed against the monster. Fine, the Admiral finally said. We'll go together. My team will stay back to cover you. But at the first sign of danger, you retreat. Understood? John nodded. It was better than Going alone. They moved carefully toward the reactor section. The halls showed signs of the creature's passing. Metal walls were bent and torn. Equipment was crushed. But strangely, there were no bodies. "It's not killing everyone," John said quietly as they walked. "Look, no dead crew members." "It's focused on the station's systems," one of the security officers said. "The few who died tried to stop it." That confirmed what John suspected. The creature had a goal. It wasn't just attacking randomly. They reached the doors to the reactor section. They had been ripped open. Inside, they could see the main reactor core, a huge column of glowing blue energy surrounded by control panels and safety systems. And there, moving around the reactor, was the creature. Up close, it was even stranger than in the videos. Its body looked like liquid metal, constantly flowing and changing shape. Sometimes it formed arm-like limbs. Other times it was more like a blob. Its surface reflected light like a mirror. John couldn't tell if it had eyes, but somehow he felt it could see. "Hold position," Admiral Zorn whispered to his team. "Let the human try his theory." John took a deep breath. His heart beat fast in his chest. Fear told him to run, but he forced himself to step forward into the reactor room. The creature didn't react. It continued examining the reactor. "It doesn't sense me," John whispered, back to the others. He took another step. Then another. He was now fully in the room, about 20 feet from the monster. It still hadn't noticed him. Admiral Zorn, seeing this success, motioned for his team to follow. They moved slowly into the room, weapons ready. Instantly, the creature reacted. It spun toward them, its body forming sharp spikes. It let out a sound like metal scraping on metal. The security team fired their weapons. Energy blasts hit the creature, but they seemed to pass through it without effect. The monster moved with incredible speed. It flowed across the floor and up the wall. Then it dropped onto one of the security officers. The officer screamed as the creature wrapped around him. "Fall back," Admiral Zorn shouted. He fired his weapon again and again, but it did nothing. John stood frozen in place. The creature had completely ignored him. It attacked only the aliens. This confirmed his theory. It could sense them, but not him. The creature finished with the security officer and turned toward the others. Admiral Zorn and his remaining team retreated through the door. The monster followed them, still ignoring John completely. John was now alone in the reactor room. He looked at the main control panel. The reactor's status showed it was stable, but the creature had been doing something to it before they arrived. On one screen, he saw that certain safety systems had been disabled. The creature was trying to cause the reactor to overheat. If it succeeded, the explosion would destroy the entire station and kill everyone on board. John started working at the control panel, trying to restore the safety systems. He wasn't an engineer, but all humans on the station had basic training for emergencies. A few minutes later, Kate Russell ran into the room. She stopped in surprise when she saw John. "You're alive," she said. "The security team said the creature attacked them." "It did, but it completely ignored me," John said, still working on the panel. "You were right about the Zeta radiation." Kate came over to help. She knew more about station systems than John did. "The creature was trying to cause a meltdown," she said as she worked. "But why? What does it want?" "I don't know. Maybe to destroy the station. But that doesn't explain why it's attacking only certain places." They worked together for several minutes. Finally, Kate sat back with a sigh of relief. "Safety systems restored," she said. "The reactor is stable." A loud crash came from somewhere in the station. The monster was still causing damage. "We need to tell the others what we've learned," John said. "Humans can approach the creature safely. That gives us an advantage." They headed back toward the central part of the station. Along the way, they found more damage, but still no bodies. The creature was destroying equipment, not killing people. "Wait," Kate said suddenly. She pointed to a small device attached to a wall. It was blinking with a blue light. "That's not part of the station systems." John looked at it closely, careful not to touch it. "It looks like some kind of sensor or transmitter." "I've never seen anything like it," Kate said. "But look, there's Another one. She pointed down the hall where another small device was attached to the ceiling. As they continued walking, they found more of them. All were placed near important systems or major power lines. The creature is putting these here, Kate said. They must be important to whatever it's trying to do. They reached the main hall. Many people had already left on escape pods, but some remained, including Council Leader Vexithar and several other council members. Ambassador Miller, Officer Russell, Council Leader Vexithar called when she saw them. "We thought you were dead." John quickly explained what they had discovered, that the creature ignored humans, that it was placing strange devices throughout the station, and that it seemed more interested in the station's systems than in killing people. "This changes things," said Council Leader Vexthar. "If humans can approach the creature safely, perhaps we can communicate with it." Communicate? Admiral Zorn had returned with more security personnel. His uniform was torn and he had a cut on his face. "That thing killed 2 of my officers." "Only after you attacked it," John pointed out. "It was defending itself." "What about the research stations it destroyed?" the Admiral demanded. "Did it destroy them or did it cause their systems to fail?" Kate asked. "There's a difference. And did anyone try not fighting it?" No one had an answer for that. "We need to find it again," John said. "I want to try something." Admiral Zorn looked like he wanted to argue, but Council Leader Vexthar spoke first. "Very well, Ambassador, but be careful. This creature is still dangerous." John and Kate checked the station's security system. The cameras showed the monster moving through the engineering section. "It's heading for the communications array," Kate said. "That's the part of the station that connects to the Concordat network." "Let's go," John said. They moved quickly through the station. As they got closer to the communications array, they could hear strange sounds, metal bending, equipment being moved. "Ready?" John asked Kate. She looked nervous but nodded. "Ready." They turned the corner and there it was. The creature was larger now, almost as big as a small car. It had formed several tentacle-like limbs that were working on the communications equipment. John took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Hello," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "We want to understand why you're here." The creature stopped working. It turned, its surface rippling like water. It formed what looked like a head, though it had no clear features. For a long moment, it just watched them. John and Kate stood still, not making any threatening moves. The creature's body shifted and changed. One of its limbs became longer and thinner. It reached out toward them. John held his ground, fighting the urge to run. The limb stopped just in front of his face. Then it moved to Kate, hovering near her. "It's not attacking us," Kate whispered. "It's curious." The limb withdrew. The creature's body shifted again. Then, to their complete surprise, it formed what looked like a crude mouth. From it came sounds, clicks, hums, and static-like noise. The next 12 hours were chaos. The damage to Space Station Horizon was severe but not deadly. Emergency systems kept the station together. Most people had escaped on pods, but some stayed behind. These included John, Kate, Admiral Zorn, Council, Leader Vexthar, and a few brave crew members. The strange creature had disappeared. It had left the station through a breach it created in the outer hull. Station sensors showed it moving away into deep space. "It got what it wanted and left," Admiral Zorn said. They were in the control room looking at damage reports. "But what did it want?" John asked. He looked at the list of damaged systems. The reactor, communications, and data storage were all tampered with but not destroyed. Kate was checking the station's computer systems. "It copied data," she said, looking up from her screen. "Lots of data. Star charts, ship movements, communication, protocols. It was gathering information," John said. "Not just attacking blindly." Admiral Zorn pounded his fist on the table. "This changes nothing. The creature is dangerous. It must be destroyed before it attacks again." Council Leader Vexthar looked thoughtful. She was old and wise, even for a Zorblaxian. Her species lived for centuries. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "we should try Ambassador Miller's approach. If humans can safely approach this being, maybe they can learn more about it. That's a risk we can't take, Admiral Zorn argued. It's a risk we must take, Council Leader Vexthar replied. Our weapons don't work against it. We need to understand what we're facing. In the end, a plan was made. A small team would go after the creature. They would use a ship with minimal Zeta radiation signature. The team would include John, Kate, and 3 alien specialists who volunteered despite the danger rill of Eldarian tech expert, Sorn, a Zorblaxian biologist, and Lox, a Teresian security officer. Their ship was called the Venture. It was small, but fast. It had been modified to produce as little Zeta radiation as possible. The human engineers on the station had helped with this. They used Earth-based technology instead of the more advanced Concordate systems. The creature is heading toward the Nixon asteroid belt, Kate said as they prepared to leave. She showed the others a map on the ship's screen. That's strange, there's nothing there. Nothing we know about, Rill said. The blue-skinned Veldarian had 6 fingers on each of his 4 hands. He was nervous but trying to hide it. They launched from Space Station Horizon 6 hours later. The station was stable now but would need major repairs. Most of the evacuation pods had been recovered, and no lives had been lost. The Venture moved quickly through space. John sat in the pilot's seat. Kate was next to him as navigator. The 3 alien crew members worked at other stations. We're picking up the creature's energy trail, Sorn said. The female Zorblaxian was looking at sensor readings. It's definitely heading to the asteroid belt. Can it survive in space without a ship? Lox asked. The Teresian had red skin and large eyes that could see in the dark. Apparently, Kate said, it seems to be able to change its form to survive different environments. They followed the trail for hours. The ship was quiet. Everyone was tense, wondering what would happen when they found the creature again. We're entering the asteroid belt, John announced. Keep an eye out for the creature and be ready for anything. The asteroids were large and widely spaced. The Venture moved carefully between them. The sensors continued tracking the creature's energy trail. There, Kate said, pointing to a large asteroid ahead. The trail leads there. The asteroid was about 5 miles across. Its surface was dark and rocky. It looked like any other space rock. I'm detecting a structure on the far side, Rill said, checking his instruments. It's artificial, not natural. John guided the ship around the asteroid. What they saw made them all stare in surprise. There was a base built into the asteroid. It was old and partly broken. Metal walls were exposed where rock had been removed. Dark openings showed where doors or windows had once been. This place is ancient, Sorn said, scanning it. The materials date back at least 10,000 years. Is the creature inside? Lox asked, checking his weapon. The energy pistol wouldn't hurt the monster, but old habits were hard to break. Yes, Rill confirmed. The energy signature is coming. From inside the structure. John found a flat area near one of the openings and landed the ship. They put on spacesuits. The asteroid had no atmosphere. The gravity was very weak, so they also attached magnetic boots to stay on the surface. Remember the plan, John said as they prepared to exit the ship. We're here to observe and try to communicate. No hostile actions unless absolutely necessary. They stepped onto the asteroid's surface. Small puffs of dust rose where their boots touched down. The stars shone brightly against the blackness of space. They walked slowly toward the entrance of the ancient base. The structure was built by the Forerunners, Sorn said, examining markings on the wall. They were an advanced civilization that disappeared 8,000 years ago. What happened to them? Kate asked. No one knows for sure, Sorn replied. They left behind ruins but few clues about their fate. They reached the entrance, a large square opening in the metal wall. Inside was darkness. Their suit lights created small circles of brightness that barely pushed back the black. The creature is in there, Rill said, looking at a small device in his hand. About 200 meters in. John took a deep breath. I'll go first. Kate with me. The rest of you stay back a bit. They entered the ancient base. The halls were wide and tall. Dust covered everything. In some places, the ceiling had collapsed. They had to climb over fallen beams and broken walls. This was some kind of research facility, Soren said, examining writing on a wall. The markings mentioned experiments and tests. They went deeper into the base. The energy signature was getting stronger. They passed rooms full of old equipment. Most of it was broken or covered in dust. But in some places, lights were now on. Systems that had been dead for thousands of years were working again. The creature is reactivating the base, Rill said in wonder. How is that possible? They turned a corner and entered a large, round room. It might have been a control center. In the middle was a column of light, energy flowing up from the floor to the ceiling. And there in the light was the creature. It looked different now. Its body was more defined, less fluid. It had formed what looked like a head, a torso, and limbs, though they were still made of the same liquid metal. It was touching the column of light and energy flowed between them. It's connecting to the base's systems, Rill whispered. The creature suddenly turned. It saw them. For a moment, no one moved. Then, to everyone's surprise, the creature formed what looked like a hand and made a gesture, a beckoning motion. It wants us to come closer, John said. The 3 alien crew members stopped, fear showing on their faces. But John and Kate moved forward slowly. The creature made no threatening moves. It watched them with what seemed like curiosity. As they got closer, the creature's body shifted and changed. It formed a more human-like shape, though still made of liquid metal. Then it created what looked like a face, simple, with just indentations for eyes and a line for a mouth. It's mimicking us, Kate whispered. It's trying to look more human. The creature reached out toward them with its hand-like limb. It stopped just short of touching John's spacesuit. Then it made a series of sounds, clicks, hums, and static. I think it's trying to talk again, John said. Maybe we can help it, Kate suggested. She took out a small device from her suit pocket. This is a universal translator. It might not work, but it's worth trying. She activated the device and held it up. The creature looked at it curiously. It made more sounds. The translator hummed, trying to process the strange language. No match found, the translator said. Insufficient data for translation. The creature seemed to understand the problem. It moved away from them, toward one of the walls. It placed its hand on a panel there. Lights flickered on the wall. Old screens that had been dark for millennia came to life. Images appeared on the screens. They showed stars, planets, and ships. Then they showed people, beings that must have been forerunners. They looked somewhat like the Zorblaxians, but with differences. The images showed them working in labs, building things. Then the images changed. They showed the forerunners creating something, a pool of liquid metal that moved on its own. They were making the creature, or something like it. It's showing us its origins, Kate said in awe. It was created by the forerunners. The images continued. They showed the creatures, there were many of them now, being used by the forerunners. They helped build ships and stations. They explored dangerous places. They were tools, or maybe servants. Then the images turned dark. They showed war. Forerunner ships fighting each other, planets burning. The creatures being used as weapons. They made these beings for peaceful purposes, Soren said, watching the images. But then they used them for war. The final images were the most terrible. They showed the forerunners destroying themselves, their civilization falling apart in conflict, the creatures now weapons being abandoned as their creators died out. The screens went dark. The creature turned back to them. It made more sounds. This time, the translator picked up patterns. Searching, searching, alone. Long time, searching, the translator said in a halting voice. The journey to Earth took 11 days. The venture had to make short jumps to avoid stressing its engines. Each jump caused the creature pain because of the zeta radiation, but it endured. Between jumps, it would recover and continue learning, to communicate. Kate had made improvements to the translator. The creature was learning human words quickly. Its speech was still broken and simple, but getting better every day. What call you me? It asked on the third day. John and Kate looked at each other. They hadn't thought about giving the creature a name. What would you like to be called? John asked. The creature's liquid metal body shifted as it thought. Creators called Nexus, connection point, bring things together. Nexus, Kate repeated. I like it. So the creature became Nexus. As they traveled, Nexus told them more about its past. It had been created to help the Forerunners build things. Its liquid metal body could change shape and connect to machinery. It could repair systems and create new components. But when the Forerunners started fighting each other, they changed Nexus and others like it. They were made into weapons. Nexus didn't like remembering that time. Many deaths, it said sadly. Not want to harm, made to harm. You were forced, John said gently. It wasn't your choice. By the 8th day, Nexus could form a more detailed face. It practiced human expressions, happiness, sadness, curiosity. Its voice through the translator was becoming more natural. Why humans different? Nexus asked. Why humans not fear me? We still have fear, John explained. But humans try to understand before judging. Not always, but we try. Also, Kate added, our technology doesn't use zeta radiation, so we can approach you without causing you pain. That makes a big difference. The crew grew used to having Nexus on board. At first, the 3 alien crew members, Rill, Sorn, and Lox, kept their distance. But as days passed, they became more comfortable around Nexus. They saw that it was not the monster they had feared. In my culture, Sorn told Nexus, there are old stories about shape-shifting beings from the stars. I wonder if they were about your kind. Nexus found this interesting. Maybe Forerunners visit Zorblaxians long ago. Bring Nexus kind with them. On the 10th day, they received a message from Earth. The human leadership had been informed about Nexus and the situation with the Concordat. They were granted permission to land at a special facility in a place called Nevada. What Earth like? Nexus asked, sensing their excitement. It's beautiful, John said. Oceans, mountains, forests, cities full of people. And the best part, Kate added, is our technology won't hurt you. No zeta radiation. Nexus formed a smile on its simple face. Want to see Earth? Want to learn humans? On the 11th day, they approached the Sol system, Earth's home system. As they passed the outer planets, John received an urgent message. 3 Concordat ships have entered the system, he told the others. Admiral Zorn found us. Kate looked worried. Can they stop us before we reach Earth? John checked the navigation system. It will be close, but I think we can make it. He pushed. The Venture's engines harder. The small ship raced past Mars, heading for the blue planet ahead. Earth, Nexus said, looking at the view screen. Blue. Like Rill skin. Rill, the blue-skinned Veldarian, laughed. Yes, but Earth is blue because of water. As they approached Earth, the 3 Concordat warships appeared on their sensors. They were closing fast. Incoming transmission, Sorn reported. Admiral Zorn's face appeared on the screen. He looked angry. Ambassador Miller, he said. You have defied direct orders and taken a dangerous entity to a populated world. Stop your ship immediately and surrender the creature. The creature has a name, John replied. It's Nexus, and it's not dangerous unless threatened. This is not a debate, Admiral Zorn snapped. Stop your ship, or we will be forced to fire. We're in Earth's territory now, John said. Firing on us would be an act of war against humanity. The Admiral's face hardened. Then so be it. The screen went dark. The Concordat ships continued their approach. They're charging weapons, Lox reported. John opened a channel to Earth's Defense Command. This is Ambassador John Miller on the ship Venture. We are being pursued by 3 Concordat warships that are threatening to fire, requesting emergency landing clearance and protection. There was a pause. Then a voice responded. Venture, this is Earth Defense Command. We have you on our screens. Protection ships are launching now. Continue on your landing path. From Earth, A dozen ships rose to meet them. They were smaller than the Concordat warships, but moved quickly to form a protective screen around the venture. The Admiral wouldn't dare attack with Earth's defense fleet present, Kate said with relief. But she was wrong. One of the Concordat ships fired. The energy blast missed the venture but hit one of the Earth ships. It spun out of control. They actually fired, Reel said in shock. The Earth ships returned fire. Space lit up with energy weapons. The Concordat ships were more powerful, but the Earth ships had numbers and were fighting to protect their home. We need to land now, John said. While they're distracted, he guided the venture toward Earth, diving into the atmosphere. The ship shook as air resistance hit it. Fire appeared around the hull as it heated up. Nexus moved to the front of the ship to watch. Its body reflected the orange glow of re-entry. Beautiful, it said. Fire like liquid. They broke through the cloud layer. Below them, the Nevada desert stretched out brown and dry. In the distance was a large facility with multiple landing pads. Approaching landing zone, John reported. Hang on for touchdown. The venture settled onto a landing pad with a gentle bump. Outside, vehicles and people were rushing toward them. Some were soldiers with weapons, others were scientists in white coats. Ready to meet more humans? John asked Nexus. Nexus formed its face into a smile. Ready. The airlock opened. John went first, followed by Kate and the 3 alien crew members. Nexus came last, its body shining in the bright desert sun. The soldiers raised their weapons, startled by Nexus's appearance. But a woman stepped forward and motioned for them to lower their guns. Ambassador Miller? She asked. I'm Director Evans. We've been expecting you. John nodded. Thank you for the reception. This is Kate Russell, our science officer. And this is Nexus. Nexus moved forward slightly. It had made its body more human-shaped but still clearly alien, a figure of flowing silver metal with a simple face. Greetings, Earth humans, Nexus said through the translator. Thank you for welcome. Director Evans looked surprised but recovered quickly. You're welcome, Nexus. We have prepared a special facility for you where you can be comfortable and safe. What about the Concordat ships? Kate asked, looking up at the sky. Our defense fleet has engaged them, Director Evans said. The situation is tense, but they won't be landing here today. She led them to a large building nearby. Inside was a spacious room with various equipment. There were no sharp edges or corners. Everything was smooth and rounded. We thought this might be more comfortable for a being that can change shape, Director Evans explained. Nexus moved around the room, examining everything with curiosity. No pain here, it said. No bad energy. We've made sure there's no Zeta. Radiation, Director Evans confirmed. Our scientists would like to learn more about you if you're willing. Nexus formed its face into a smile again. We'll share knowledge. Want to learn too. Over the next few days, Nexus met with Earth scientists. It showed them how its body worked, how it could change shape and connect to machinery. The scientists were amazed. Nothing like Nexus had ever been seen on Earth. John and Kate stayed with Nexus, helping it communicate and feel safe. The 3 alien crew members, Rill, Sorn, and Lox, were given quarters at the facility. They were the first of their species to visit Earth, and they were treated as honored guests. A week after their arrival, Director Evans called John to her office. Her face was serious. The Concordat has issued an official demand, she said. They want Nexus handed over to them. They claim it's a dangerous weapon that belongs under their control. John frowned. Nexus is a living being, not a weapon. It has rights. I agree, Director Evans said. But Admiral Zorn has convinced much of the Concordat Council that Nexus is too dangerous to leave in human hands. They're calling for sanctions against Earth if we don't comply. Sanctions could hurt Earth's trade with other worlds, John said, thinking out loud. But giving up Nexus would be wrong. Director Evans nodded. The government is divided on what to do. Some want to protect Nexus at any cost. Others fear the consequences of defying the Concordat. What about the people who actually met Nexus? John asked. Rill, Sorn, and Lox have spent time with it. They know the truth. That's an idea, Director Evans said thoughtfully. If representatives of other concordate species spoke in Nexus's defense, it might change minds. John sought out the 3 alien crew members. They had all grown to like and respect Nexus during their journey. "Will you help?" he asked them. "Will you tell the truth about Nexus to your people?" Rill, the blue-skinned Veldarian with 4 arms, nodded. "My people value knowledge. I will tell them that Nexus is a repository of ancient wisdom, not a monster." Sorn, the female Zorblaxian biologist, agreed. "In science, facts matter more than fear. I have studied Nexus. It is unique and valuable, not a threat." 1 year had passed since Nexus first came to Earth. The Nevada facility had grown into a center for cultural exchange between humans, Nexus, and the concordate species. What began as a secure location for a feared monster was now a place of learning and cooperation. John Miller walked through the main hall, nodding to scientists and diplomats from a dozen worlds. He was no longer just an ambassador, but the director of the newly formed Interspecies Communication Division. His experience with Nexus had changed his career and his life. "Ambassador Miller," called a familiar voice. John turned to see Rill, the blue-skinned Veldarian with 4 arms. After returning to his homeworld to testify about Nexus, Rill had requested permanent assignment to Earth. He now led the Veldarian research team studying Forerunner technology. "Just John, please," John reminded, him with a smile. "We've been friends too long for titles." "Old habits," Rill said, all 4 hands gesturing apologetically. "The Zorblaxian delegation has arrived. Council leader Vexthar is with them." This was important news. The Zorblaxians were the oldest and most respected species in the Concordat. Their support had been crucial in protecting Nexus from those who still feared it. "I'll greet them right away," John said. "Is Kate back from Washington?" "Yes. Her shuttle landed an hour ago," Rail replied. "She's with Nexus in the Education Center." John nodded and headed in that direction. The Education Center had been Nexus's idea. After spending time with the first group of children, Nexus had asked to meet more. What started as occasional visits had become a full program, with children from around the world coming to learn from the alien being. As John approached the large circular room, he could hear children's laughter. He paused at the doorway to watch. The room was filled with about 20 children of different ages. They sat in a circle on the floor. In the center was Nexus, but not in its usual silver form. Today it had shaped itself into what looked like a miniature galaxy, with swirling arms of glittering material and bright points of light like stars. "And that," Nexus was saying, "is how stars are born. From great clouds of dust and gas, pulled together by gravity until they become hot enough to shine." The children watched in wonder as Nexus's body demonstrated the process, showing a dust cloud collapsing and a star igniting. Kate Russell stood at the edge of the room, smiling as she watched. She had been promoted too, now heading Earth's scientific exchange with the Concordat. Her understanding of both human and alien technology made her perfect for the role. She spotted John and came over to him. "How was Washington?" he asked quietly. "Productive," she said. "The president has approved the expanded program. We'll be accepting students from all Concordat worlds starting next month." This was excellent news. The education program had been controversial at first, with some human leaders worried about sharing too much with alien species. But the benefits of exchange had proven greater than the risks. "I brought back something else too," Kate added, her eyes twinkling with excitement. "But that's a surprise for later." The lesson with the children ended, and Nexus transformed back into its more humanoid shape. Over the past year, it had refined this form, making it more detailed. It still looked like liquid metal, but now had more defined features. It wore no clothes but had shaped its surface to suggest a simple uniform. "John," Nexus called, its voice no longer needing a translator. It had learned to form vocal cords and speak human languages. "Did you see my astronomy lesson?" "The end of it," John said. "Very impressive." Nexus smiled, a gesture it had perfected. Children understand better when they can see and touch. Abstract concepts become real. As the children filed out, many of them waving goodbye to Nexus, John approached. Council leader Vexithar has arrived, he told Nexus. She'll want to meet with you. Nexus nodded. Important meeting, big decision coming. The big decision had been discussed for months. Nexus had discovered data in the Forerunner base suggesting there might be other facilities scattered across the galaxy, places where more of its kind might have been stored or preserved. The question was whether to search for them, and if so, how. They walked together to the main conference room. Council leader Vexthar was already there, along with representatives from all 12 concordate species. Among them, looking uncomfortable but present, was Admiral Zorn. The Admiral had changed over the past year. After the confrontation at the Nevada facility, he had been forced to reconsider his views. Seeing Nexus with the children had started that process. Later, when Nexus helped save a Kelbraxian colony from a natural disaster, the Admiral had begun to accept that he might have been wrong. Ambassador Miller, Specialist Nexus. Council leader Vexthar greeted them formally. The elderly Zorblaxian moved slowly now, but her mind remained sharp. Thank you for hosting this important meeting. They took their places at the round table. John noted that there was no head position. All seats were equal, a design that Nexus had suggested. We are here, Council leader Vexithar began, to discuss the Forerunner Legacy project. Nexus has shared information about possible locations of other Forerunner bases. The question before us is whether to mount an expedition to find them. Admiral, Zorn spoke up. I still have concerns. If more beings like Nexus are found, how can we be sure they will be as peaceful? It was a fair question. Even John had wondered the same thing. Not all same, Nexus acknowledged. Some made for different tasks. Some changed for war like I was. But all can learn, can choose new path. The key, Kate added, would be how we approach them. The other Nexus-type beings might react with fear if they detect concordate technology because of the Zeta radiation signature. That's why we propose using Earth ships for the initial contact. This was the core of their plan. Human technology, free from Zeta radiation, could approach other Forerunner creations without triggering their defensive responses. A human-led expedition, Admiral Zorn said, frowning. With all respect to Ambassador Miller and